I'd like to talk a little bit about what's called the stained glass ceiling. Okay. Um, in many religious groups, Orthodox Jews, for example, Roman Catholics, women are not allowed into positions of religious power. They're not allowed to be rabbis among Orthodox or Haredim Jews. They're not allowed to be priests in the Roman Catholic Church or in the Orthodox Church. And they're not allowed to be ministers in some Protestant denominations, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, men often. Now, why is there such a tenacious hold on the stained glass ceiling? I think part of the reason is that in the secular world, it is taken for granted that it is immoral and illegal to discriminate on the basis of gender or the basis of sex. Now, as you see more and more women, women doctors, women lawyers, women executives, women this, that, and the other, used to be a rarity, and now just part of everyday life. So I think part of the reason for the stained glass ceiling is that some men at least, want to have an old boys club somewhere. Let us at least be the top gender somewhere, because we can't do it in the secular world. Now, I also do think that one woman, though, was asked about female ministers, and she said, personally, I don't find it very appealing. And she was asked why she didn't find it appealing. And she said, because I want daddy, not mommy, in that role. And that makes a certain amount of sense, because if you see the minister or the reverend or the priest or whatever as a kind of, in the sort of symbolizing a protector role, then it would make sense that you would want daddy, not mommy, in that role, and that the minister or priest would be a kind of, father figure. Now, of course, there are verses in certain parts of the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament, that seem to support an all-male clergy. I'm not a theologian, but I do know that these verses are susceptible to different types of interpretation. In the New Testament, a lot of times it's St. Paul's women keep silent is often used to support the idea of a stained glass ceiling. And I also know that there's a lot of people who say that that verse has been misinterpreted because, in fact, women did speak in a lot of churches, and St. Paul was okay with it. One of the interesting things about that is you do have to go to St. Paul. You can't get anything from Jesus on it, because Jesus just wasn't a keep him barefoot and pregnant type of guy. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a believer in God. But the figure as depicted in the New Testament does not stereotype women ever. In fact, that's one of the things that makes him very odd as a pre-modern religious figure, to not ever say anything in support of traditional sex roles, to always seem to be in favor of opening things up to women, is unusual. It's very unusual. And it does make that figure of Jesus an unusual figure. When he's given an opportunity to tell Mary to get in the kitchen with Martha and do the women's work, he praises Mary for learning along with the male disciples. He, talks to a Samaritan woman at a time when he didn't talk to any woman, much less a member of a kind of semi-enemy sort of group. He doesn't remonstrate when a woman with a constant menstrual period is healed by, touching the hem of his garment. And his some of his statements, like let he who is without sin cast the first stone, appear to be a kind of implicit rejection of the double standard. Okay, but anyway, my main topic, of course, is why is it people hold on to the stained glass ceiling? And I think part of the reason is because they have kind of lost the battle elsewhere in the secular world, and they want to have an old boys club somewhere. And of course, I also do think that some women are attracted to it because, like that woman said, they do want daddy and not mommy in that role. Okay, and I'll hope you enjoyed hearing that, and will subscribe to my channel.